From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated, and sometimes controversial Minnesota sports scene. I know you're probably going to so trendy Target Field this weekend to see the Kansas City Royals and Minnesota Twins. You better buy a program because you're not going to know who you're watching on the Twins after they gutted the team in a historic teardown.
Yeah, no question. And by the way, I'm just happy to see you in the studio this week after going without sleep, flying in from the Great White North of Alaska.
The things I do for this show.
You're amazing.
Fairbanks, Denver, Minneapolis.
You're no Minnesota Twins, taking the couch back in the back room, man. You just play ball no matter what.
I was out hiking with the moose in Alaska.
And not the Minnesota Moose?
No, not Carl Eller either.
Not Carl Eller. All right, your Twins. Boy, what a week last week was. They peddled 11 guys, 10 of them off the Major League roster, so that's 40% of your roster is now, poof, gone. I think they brought one of them onto the Major League roster right away, so they had to call up a bunch of guys from St. Paul. So they now are, and I have been calling them all week on the radio, the Minnesota Fighting Saints. And if I'm a season ticket holder, and I paid full price for Twins tickets, or I bought tickets for any of these games over the last 2 months of the season, I'm not so sure I'm real thrilled right now to go watch the Saints play at Target Field. If I want to watch the Saints, I'll go over to St. Paul.
No, I mean, if you're a passionate Twins fan out there, you've got to be irate. And I hope you're not buying the Minnesota spin on this, where they tried to tell us after the all of the blizzard of moves last week.
Very Alaska of you.
Well, the news reached Alaska. That's how crazy this is. And hey, we're competing to win a championship. That's our goal. We're going to get better with this. And I mean, if you believe that, then you believe it's going to be 80 degrees in Fairbanks, Alaska in January, where the average high is about 5. So
okay. So, all right. So to put that in perspective, you trade away 10 guys. You get basically all prospects. There's a few guys that has some major league experience, so let's not completely discount the players that they got. James Outman, one of them, and the outfielder from the Dodgers, and they sent him to St. Paul to get more swings. That was, by the way, he only had one trip down to the minors left, so they figured they'd use it now, give him every day at
service time.
I know.
And it's the same James Outman who about 2 weeks and some change ago against the Twins at Dodger Stadium, bottom of the ninth inning in a 5-2 game, Carlos Correa up, another ex-Twin, hits one to center field, and Outman took a home run away from him that would have tied the game. So he was playing center field for the World Series champion Dodgers, and now he's a Saint.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of Carlos Correa, who is now back in Houston, what was that line that Brad Pitt used when he played Billy Bean in the movie? And it was something to the effect he was talking to Dave Justice, if you remember this. This is the Moneyball movie from, I don't know, it's about 15 years ago now the movie came out. Anyway, he says to Dave Justice, he says, you see how much the New York Yankees like you? They're paying you to play against them. So let's say with Carlos Correa, you see how much the Minnesota Twins cared about Carlos Correa. They're paying you to play against them. And it's also true.
And I know Carlos has been struggling at the plate. That's an understatement. But there's never been a question about the defense. He's outstanding with the glove at shortstop. And he's a voice in the locker room. I mean, he's a team leader. He will go back down to Houston, where he lives in the offseason. I'm sure he will quickly integrate with the Astros, and they've had their share of injuries. And probably, or at least potentially, they could make a playoff run with this guy. I mean, that's where it all happened for Carlos Correa with the Houston Astros and their owner, Jim Crane. I mean, he is the polar opposite of the Pohlads. Jim Crane is committed to winning. He doesn't know what the word rebuild means. He thinks the Astros should always be in the hunt, and guess what? They are.
Yeah. Well, and in the case of the Pohleds, I don't know. Is this scorched earth policy? I mean, let's dump as much salary as possible. Let's get as many prospects as possible. And let's not forget this. They are just prospects until they can prove themselves. How many of these guys are going to be impact players? I would say that Johan Duran was an impact player. I would say that Griffin Jacks potentially was an impact player from time to time. He was inconsistent at times, but I'd say overall. I don't understand the Louis Varland thing at all. That is absolutely bewilders me. So if you go out and you trade Johan Duran and you go out and you trade Griffin Jacks, the two guys at the back end of your bullpen, that seemingly would open the door for a guy that you had team control of till 2030, and you're paying him a pittance right now. Why would you hang on to this guy? I just don't understand that.
It's mind-boggling, and of course the Pohlad family, the team's on the blocks. We know that they want $1.7 billion, but they're deep in debt.
$500 million.
And there's a prospective owner out there that the commissioner Rob Manfred says will have a deal done. If I'm that prospective owner and I see all these quality guys dealt away, then I want that price lowered. It'd be like me going to a car dealer, getting the new car, then I come to drive it away and there's no power steering, there's no heat, there's no air conditioning. Well, you're going to lower that price then. I'm not going to be very happy. And what about the Pohlad family's legacy? They're Minnesota, upper Midwest people, right? I mean, this is where they cemented their reputation, where Carl made all of his money, his billions, and I wonder if they're tainted now. I mean, Ziggy and Mark Wilf, and I don't think they'd ever do something like this. I don't think you could in the NFL with the cap, but they're from New Jersey, right? Although sure. I feel like they've become Minnesota guys. But my point is, A-Rod and Mark Lowry, they aren't Minnesota guys, but the Pohlads are.
Yeah, well, they
own skyscrapers in downtown Minneapolis.
They have to live among us and do business among us. Yeah.
Are you going to go in that RBS building?
I've never been there before, so I guess it probably doesn't.
Probably never go now.
Probably never go now. Yeah. And to your point about fans and whether they're going to come now, I guess the only reason you go to Target Field now, for the rest of this season anyway, and probably for the foreseeable future, would be to see the opponent. I mean, I suppose you could see what progress these young guys are going to be making over time. Brooks Lee is now your shortstop, I guess, right? Going forward, he's your shortstop. You still have Royce Lewis. You still have Byron Buxton. And I'll tip my cap to Byron Buxton, man. I tell you, this guy is a real trooper. He said at the All-Star break, I'm a Twin, don't even bother. I'm Twin for life, don't even ask. Well, apparently some teams did ask, and they asked his agent, and the agent told him no. He's not going to waive his no-trade clause. So I'll give credit. That's the one shining moment that came out of this entire thing, is that Byron Buxton is in it for the long haul.
Well, and think about this. Their two All-Stars remain on the team, Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan. As you said, Buxton said, no, you can send me somewhere, but I'm going to nuke it. I'm staying here. I have the ability to waive a trade.
No trade clause, yep.
Joe Ryan was open to a deal. He said that in Atlanta at the All-Star break.
He said he was excited.
I am stunned that Joe Ryan didn't move to. He would have been an even more valuable chip, or at least equal to Johan Duran in what you could get in return. But he remains. So it's comical. I can't wait until they play the West Sacramento A's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, there'll be
about
20 people there.
Yeah, you'll get a foul ball if you go to the game. All right, stick around. Much more coming up. We are 10K Takes, your Twins pick it.
Seeing clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
In Lakeville, Minnesota, dozens of meeting venues are ready to host your next corporate event, banquet, and holiday party. Lakeville has unique conference facilities, a variety of hotels, an abundance of team-building options, and dining that are sure to impress. For suggestions that suit your needs, please call the Lakeville Convention and Visitors Bureau at 952-469-2020 or go to visitlakeville.org. Lakeville, we mean business.
And we are Minnesota Scores 10,000 Takes, Wally and Eric, and we are going to shift into Vikings mode. We will get to some more Twins in a moment. But joining us now to talk some purple, our guy Larry Fitzgerald, who has spent some time out at Vikings training camp thus far this year. The burning question for me as we go forward through this camp, Larry, and we've been talking about it on the radio quite a bit, what are they going to do about the second string situation? There's got to be a viable backup for J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know that they're confident in what they've got.
Well, they traded for Sam Howell, so expect them to be patient with him because they traded for him. They gave up value. And remember, this guy was a starter at least once in the NFL. I think he threw for over 3,000 yards a few years ago with Washington. And, we're just going to just let it play out. I don't think you can have everything work perfectly when you're working on your third quarterback in the last 3 years. This was a first-round pick, obviously, in J.J. McCarthy. And so, they've only been in camp a couple of weeks. I tend not to worry about things that aren't perfect at the beginning and trust the system, trust the value that they made when they made these moves.
Yeah, and that's a good outlook, Larry. It's a long season. I don't think it's a 5-alarm fire going on right now out there at TCO Performance Center, but you're going to lose Jordan Addison, one of your wideouts, for 3 games with his off-season stuff driving. J-Jets has a hamstring injury, and T.J. Hawkinson is banged up. Any concerns at all about a lethal receiving core when they're on the field?
No. It's football. It's sports. Look at the Lynx. The Fisikaria is the MVP, wide margin. And she's going to be out a couple of weeks. They got a record that's good enough to have them on top by a wide margin. But, injuries happen. And look at the Twins. They trade everybody. So I think the fans in town have enough to worry about other than worrying about whether or not the Vikings can get through a preseason game 2 weeks into the season.
What is your main concern for this Minnesota Vikings 2025 version?
I have no concerns. I believe that they drafted a quarterback who's won a national championship in J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. has a work ethic and a determination. I really think it's kind of a discrimination thing. Ohio State won the national championship last year, and the Vikings clearly have more Ohio State Buckeye-type fans than they do Michigan fans, and I think that's kind of why they're a little leery. They don't know how the Michigan guy is going to work out. But some guy named Tom Brady showed me that Michigan guys can step up.
Yeah, and that top draft choice, Donovan Jackson, the offensive guard, is a Buckeye, and McCarthy is a Wolverine. So they're going to have to learn how to get along out there on the field and in the huddle. Larry, also, I want to get your thoughts. I think it was a very good acquisition by Kwesi and KOC to bring in Jordan Mason, who was outstanding when he replaced the injured Christian McCaffrey last season in San Francisco. We know Aaron Jones is solid, but sometimes he goes down. I like the 1-2 punch of Jones and Mason. What do you think?
I agree with you. I can't wait to see Mason run. He ran extremely hard for San Francisco last season, and he got some opportunities. And I believe that the Vikings are doing the right thing. They've shored up their offensive line. They hope to get the big left tackle back. He's out there working and that type of thing. They haven't cleared him yet to play. But I think for the Vikings to be a better football team, they know that they have to establish that they can run the football and they can run it inside or out. And if they do those things, McCarthy will be able to do the things that he has shown that he can do in his career so far.
I've got to ask you about the Twins and the moves they made. The onslaught of trading away 11 guys, 10 off the major league roster. What are your thoughts about the moves that they made? Do you have any thought process that tells you that this was the right thing to do?
I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but it was a thing that was there And you and I and Eric, we talked about this all year on my. I just felt like the Twins weren't very good from the very beginning. They had a horrible last month in 2024, and they carried that into this season. And yeah, they won 13 games and kind of shocked the world. But now they've fallen into this rut where they just can't get it done. I mean, my goodness, they've lost. I think they're 5-11 since the All-Star break, and they've already lost 60 games, and they're just not playing very good baseball. And you don't know who's going to play, and they got enough injuries to have excuses. I mean, they don't have their top pitcher.
Lopez, yep.
They don't have their top player, and Byron Buxton. So they're a type of team that has to have everybody, and everybody's got to be playing well for them to play well. But then to see what they did before the All-Star break, which was one of the most embarrassing things for me to watch, a professional sports team basically throw the flag in and just have a fire sale and guys coming into meeting rooms with 15 minutes left and saying, "Get me out of here." Not a good thing. And I don't know how they're going to deal with the rest of the season in terms of their home schedule. But a number of fans certainly have to take this personal.
Yeah, we call that bad optics. Okay, Larry, let's say you're going to be the future owner of the Minnesota Twins. I know your bank account's pretty impressive. Maybe not ownership type money, but let's just assume you're going to own the Twins. They're going to get somebody in here. What are the first couple things you're going to do? Are you going to slash beer prices, lower Pepsi prices? You're going to tell the fans you're going to go after free agents? How are you going to win this fan base back?
Well, the Twins have gone into this season, and you know exactly what I know, and that is their cable television situation is among the worst in sports, and certainly in Major League Baseball. And that is a big problem when it comes to trying to sell your team, because that's a part of your value. How much money are you making from your 160-game television schedule? And the Twins aren't doing very well in that area. And then they've signed a couple of guys that haven't worked out. I mean, Carlos Correa, a couple of years ago, he was terrific, but last year he had the foot deal, and this season he's done absolutely nothing, at least in a Twins uniform, so they unloaded him. So those are things that, to me, are major flags going into the year, and I don't think I would have brought Rocco back as manager, but because Falvey, I mean, that's his guy, they're hanging in that area. But I don't think Major League Baseball should have allowed the Twins to step into this season knowing that they're for sale and not having a contingency in terms of who is really in charge. Because you get this close to the All-Star break and you dump $30 million in player salaries, that is a sign of, hey, let's just finish the season.
Larry, do you think that Major League Baseball should have stepped in, kind of like what the NBA did with Ted Stepien with the Cavaliers back in the day, and stopped the Twins from making all those moves? Do you think that should have been done?
I think you have to watch every franchise. Everybody's different. You know, the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, you know, those franchises have lucrative situations in terms of revenue streams, and nobody ever accuses them of not trying to win. Well, the Twins, you know, is a different situation. When an owner tells you that I want out and doesn't leave a plan that's in place where somebody's going to have to take responsibility of taking a position that nobody's had before. And Falvey, he's never been a general manager before, but he's been a president. But when you put a guy in a position and you call him and say, look, we want you to do these things, he's trying to save his job because he knows the team isn't doing great. I mean, they're in 5th place, aren't they? So I think that puts him in a position where he does what he's told. And sometimes when you do what you're told, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, it might not necessarily be the right thing either.
All right, good stuff, Larry. Thanks.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, he is Larry Fitzgerald. He is Twin Cities broadcaster and columnist right here on 10,000 Takes. Back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Try these.
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Minnesota scores 10,000 takes. Yes, your favorite time of year. Preseason football, as you like to call it, counterfeit football. Cheap tickets, so if you're thinking about going to an NFL game this year, you don't think you can afford regular season, you want to take your kids, which probably is the best time to take them. Because during the regular season, fans tend to get a little lubed up and want to bring kids to a football game. I think that there's a little bit more leeway at these games because the tickets are cheap, right? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, I do call it counterfeit football because typically you don't see the starters a lot, although I think that's slowly starting to change. I think teams realize we can't go into week one of the regular season with our guys having no snaps in game action. You're too rusty. But that said, it's a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s competing for roster spots. It's real for those guys. These games are like Super Bowls.
Sure.
Now, from the fan perspective, you bring a young kid in there, and you're this week you'll see the Houston Texans logo and the Minnesota Vikings logo.
They're wearing
on the helmets,
purple, right.
same colors. So they're NFL guys. They're all talented, and you can get in their bargain prices. You can even go to Lambeau, where tickets are typically, into the clouds, right? And you can get much cheaper for the preseason. So I think for the Minnesota Vikings, we know J.J. McCarthy's going to get some snaps against the Houston Texans. I would try to get him as much action as you feel comfortable. Letting him play out there because he's got very little on the resume as an NFL guy.
Right. All right. So our friend Larry Fitzgerald basically dodged my question about the second-string quarterback situation. Do you think, I'm going to throw this at you, let's say that they're not happy with Howell, the Thurston, whatever his name is. So what do? Do they go out and get somebody, i.e., how about Kirk Cousins? I mean, did you make a trade? Because heaven forbid something happens to J.J. McCarthy. You're putting all your eggs in this basket now. And he got hurt the very first half he played of NFL football last year in the preseason. Do you pursue Kirk Cousins with Atlanta?
Well, I guess the Vikings feel like they have it all figured out. A year ago, another Sam Darnold took over when J.J. got injured, and that worked out pretty well until the final 2 weeks of the season. I don't know if Sam Howell is quite what Sam Darnold is as far as the resume goes. I would be concerned about QB2 just from the experience standpoint.
Right.
As Larry said, he's played some in Seattle. I'm curious, did they even think about Teddy Bridgewater, who signed earlier this week with Tampa Bay?
Right.
I think he's a perfect QB2 because you got he's 31 years old. He's got a resume. He's been around the league. He knows the game. He was a backup in Detroit last season. But obviously that's not going to happen. The Kirk Cousins thing is interesting because he'd be a great QB2, A, if you can convince him that's what you're coming in as, and you only go in if JJ slumps or gets injured, and B, do the Atlanta Falcons want to lose him? Remember, Michael Penix is just like J.J. McCarthy in his second year. Yeah, they're high on him. They love him. What if he goes into a slump, or what if he gets hurt? Behind Cousins, it's Easton Stick, the kid out of North Carolina, or I should say North Dakota State. So the Falcons have to be careful, too. I know they may want to shed some of that salary because Cousins makes buku bucks.
$180 million over 4 years.
The guy's won the NFL lottery twice.
Yes, he has.
But if the Vikings could maneuver and find a way to bring him in here, I think their quarterback room would get a lot better.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. But
remember, though, you'd have a Michigan State and a Michigan guy. Ooh.
Yeah, well, just like Ohio State and Michigan, as Larry aptly pointed out. All right, we've got more to come. You know what it's coming up to. Takes of the day, that's coming up next. Stay with us.
clearly matters. Being seen matters more. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Let your adventure begin in Lakeville, Minnesota. We have over 90 places to grab a bite to eat, and we're close to the Mall of America, Valley Fair, and the Minnesota Zoo, plus hotel packages and great rates. Visit Lakeville. We're serious about fun all year round.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode.
Yes.
Of course, you can catch us in the Twin Cities, in the Twin Ports. So thanks for tuning us in. And now it's time for Takes of the Day. What's your mood? Are you a cranky commander, a grumpy guardian, angry American, happy camper? What is it this week?
Well, if I'm a University of Minnesota student coming up this fall, might be cranky. Yes. Announced, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that if you are a student at the University of Minnesota, you're going to have an additional $200 tab that you're going to have to pay per student at the U of M. Whether you put on a football helmet, whether you don't put on a football helmet, whether you play basketball, whether you're a chemistry major, no matter what, you're going to pay a couple $100 that are going into the pockets of the athletes who are being paid now to play for the University of Minnesota. That's right. $100 per semester, per student throughout the year, and they still have an $8.7 million deficit that they have to fulfill. So they're going to have to figure that out over at the U as well. But I can tell you this right now, that the student government not thrilled with the fact that they're going to have to shell out $200 per student, whether you go to a game or not. No matter what your situation is at the University of Minnesota, if you are a student, there's $200 coming out of your pocket to go to pay student athletes. I'm a big sports guy, obviously. Wouldn't be doing this show if I wasn't a sports guy, but Lord, I don't think I agree with this one. I think that the U of M's got to figure out other ways to make some money or get paid these guys, but really to take it out of this, I don't know, some algebra major student and he's got to pay $200 and he could care less about go for football or go for basketball or go for hockey or go for whatever. I'd say, no way, Jose.
All right, and the mood meter says he's an angry American.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it's like taxation without representation.
Yes, exactly.
You're just going to pay it, and you're going to love being a University of Minnesota student. Now sit down, shut up, and take notes.
give me my $200.
It's gouging. Yeah, well, they'll probably only go up. Oh, by the way.
I'm sure.
Okay, my take of the day. Let's talk about the Minnesota Lynx. A lot of great things we can bring up about the Lynx. Top record in the WNBA. They had an epic win last Saturday in Las Vegas. 53 points on the road. Largest road victory in the history of the W. Second largest margin of winning in a game in the history of the WNBA. So it was all going well in Vegas. They hit the jackpot until the third quarter. 43-point lead, and Nafisa Collier's still on the floor. Cheryl Reeve has taken some heat for leaving her out there. She injures the right ankle. She's going to be out for about 2 weeks, but I think Fee will be back when it counts for the postseason. She has to be. If they're going to make a run and go back to the WNBA Finals and maybe win a fifth title and bring another banner to Target Center, they're going to have Nafisa Collier, who is their top player. And right now, I would say your MVP of the WNBA.
Agreed.
All right, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks so much for joining us. We are 10K Takes, your sports ticket.